This is Lori Grenier. You've seen me on Shark Tank hearing pitches from small businesses. Now, there is a new way for small businesses to get a loan in minutes. It's called Kabbage. That's Kabbage with a K. Just fill out the application online. You'll get an instant decision and could have access to a line of credit of up to $100,000. No waiting, no hassle. Kabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and is a Forbes Top 100 company. Go to Kabbage.com, that's Kabbage with a K, Kabbage, or call 888-KABBAGE.
We're coming to you from the DraftKings.com podcasting studios. DraftKings.com, America's one-day fantasy sports site, where it's like a new season every time you play. DraftKings.com.
Now, the right time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNRadio.com.
So, this thing about football, right? Really, I think kind of applies to all sports, but with football, it comes up where guys start getting older. And nothing makes a dude sound older than when he says, I'm in the best shape of my life. 36, I feel like I'm 26.
Dude, you haven't heard 40's the new 30.
Yeah, that's what old people say, right? Like, that's what they do. When they try to get that old thing back, that's the noise they start talking. As soon as the guy says that, coming into training camp, I'm like, oh, he's done for. Like, it might spin back around, but once I hear that, I'm like, oh, yeah, he is done for. Because that's just the way that old players talk, Shannon, especially like those old running backs.
Oh, yeah, I'm not worried about 30. No, I'm not worried. It's just a number. 30's a number. I feel good.
See, what happens with the old running backs is the old running backs get hurt the year before, and then they get healthy. And then they're like, baby, the only problem was that I was hurt. Now I'm healthy. No, the problem is you're at that age where you're going to get hurt. Like, that's what happens when you get old. Like, man, I've had injury problems the last 3 years, but tonight, like everything's going to be better. No.
I felt great. I changed my diet. I'm eating better. I'm sleeping better. I changed trainers, doing things differently. Yeah, I feel good. I feel great. Really excited about the start of the season.
Yeah, no guys think they can fix that in one summer, right? All of a sudden, one summer you eat vegetables, and now all of a sudden you're going to be the man. But that's normally how they go. Well, after week 1, we had a lot of questions about Peyton Manning and his age because, okay, he looked washed. Right, like I'm trying not to go so hard on it because if he comes back around, I don't want y'all coming and picking on me about it. So I'm still leaving the door open that he might get better, but that doesn't change the fact that he looked wiggity washed, Shannon.
Yeah, when's the last time you can honestly say, yeah, Peyton Manning's team won in spite of Peyton Manning?
In spite of, like there was no great Peyton Manning moment to point to or anything. Just look washed. I need a synonym for washed. I feel like everybody's saying washed and it's a little bit played out.
Shout out to Cuffs.
Yeah, anything? You got anything?
We'll come up with something.
Yeah. So, not a good look for Peyton Manning. So, of course, that then leads to questions every week about Peyton because he looks so bad, you got to wonder if he's hurt, right? So, reporters going to come talk to Peyton Manning. They're going to talk about whether or not he's hurt and listen to how Peyton Manning flipped the questions around about whether or not he was going to be on the injury report.
Yeah, my thoughts on the injury report. I think the media should have to do an injury report as well. I think all you guys have to. I'd like to create it myself, and just to think about. I'm going to put down what I think y'all's injuries are. Well, let me start with Cliff's. The carpal tunnel from all the texting of his sources. Who else? D-Mac, the laryngitis from ripping me all week, and the rash that he has that's unidentified, but the fact that he still is here every day to overcome that, I think is kind of admirable. Woody, in my opinion, is probably the healthiest of all of y'all. And this is not a healthy group by any means, but Woody is healthy. Who else? Lindsey Jones, the bunions from all the travel to the West Coast. But like I said, I never hear you guys complaining about it, so I'm not going to complain about it. So,
a couple things there. One, I kind of feel like Peyton might have dragged that out about one or two jokes too far. You notice how the laughs kind of declined. I think the rash thing kind of threw everybody off. How exactly do we go about that? Hope that man doesn't really have a rash. Well, he'd be like, hey, who told you about the rash? And then the bunions. You ain't got to talk about that lady bunions like that.
Yeah, he should have had somebody standing across from him, give him the wrap it up.
Yeah, he just kept on going. But he couldn't stop. You know why he couldn't stop? He was too busy trying to divert attention from the fact that he's old and washed. Like, that's all that was. I didn't know there was any way to sound older that I've never felt this good as a professional. And the way to do that was I had to try to turn it into a joke about the media being on the injury report. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle for Peyton Manning tomorrow, by the way. Just the mere fact that it's a Thursday game. And that's in Kansas City, correct?
Yeah, that's a quick turnaround, yeah.
I mean, these Thursday night games are ridiculous. Like, let's be clear about that part. I've had a problem with these games from the very beginning. The quality of them is never any good. Why? Because these dudes just played football on Sunday. Like, it's such a greedy thing for the league to do. And they're going to try Peyton Manning out there against that defense, Shannon. The offensive line did not look so fantastic against Baltimore. Tom Bahali and Justin Houston, they play for the Chiefs. By the way, do you remember how many sacks Justin Houston had last year? It's like 22. It was either 22 or it was either 22 or 22 and a half. Think about that. 22? That's a video game number of sacks. Well, they'll be going up against the Denver Broncos next week. How's this going to go for Peyton? Like a Thursday nighter? The last thing he needed was to be in the immediate Thursday night game. Like, that was the last thing that he needed. Because if it doesn't look good, man, we going to be out there. And Peyton doesn't strike me as the sort of dude who just lets these things roll off his back.
We're going to have him all new material for next week.
Appreciate you. Either way it goes, we'll have material, right? Either he looks old and we got material, or he looks great and we got material.
No. I'm saying he'll have material for us next week.
Yes, by the way, I didn't realize that he told jokes for free. Like, the only times I've heard Peyton Manning, like, legitimately being funny, there was an advertising campaign on the line, or it was an episode of Saturday Night Live. Like I say, that's how you know he's feeling the heat. He's out here doing what he normally charges for. Because I wouldn't be telling the media no jokes for free, not if I was Peyton Manning. But he's like, hey, please don't look at me over here being old. Please don't look at me over here being old. It's got to be frustrating, too. And the reason I think it just has to be so incredibly frustrating for him is, yeah, he started getting old before, but he figured out how to compensate for it, right? Like, he figured out how to do things in time and everything else. But you'll remember, at the end of that game against the Colts, he had the torn quad, which certainly didn't help his situation.
Right.
But he was at that press conference, and it was all over his face. It was man, I don't know how long I can keep doing this. The Broncos, don't forget, asked him to take a pay cut, remember? And he took it. He took that pay cut coming into this year. You know he couldn't have felt good about that. You know he couldn't have. The whole way, you just got to wonder if at some point Peyton Manning is just like, man, what am I doing here?
That's what I was going to ask you. Aside from just loving to play the game, what's the reason? What's the reason for him playing?
I got nothing. They're not going to win a Super Bowl with him. Like, they've got some pieces around them that could contribute to a Super Bowl. They're not going to win a Super Bowl with him. But he's not going to walk out in the middle of the season like I would strongly consider doing. It's just going to go. It's just going to go. And every week we're going to ask him if he's old, and every week he's going to say that he's not. He's going to go every week.
Maybe he's prepared an entire season long worth of jokes, and that was just the week one jokes.
That's how he spent his summer vacation. By the way, Shannon, with my luck having this discussion right here, Peyton Manning going to throw for 500 yards tomorrow night. 500 yards. That's life.
Bomani.
Shannon, Jason Pierre-Paul consistently winds up a topic of discussion on our program. Mm-hmm. Yesterday it was because we found out, and it's so hard to talk about this without being crass. Like, the dude lost a finger blowing up fireworks, and we keep finding out that he has less of his hand than we thought.
Right.
Right, so we found out that the tip of his thumb is gone.
Tip of his thumb, entire index finger, and part of his middle finger as well.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. That middle finger takes on an added significance for him right now, as that's like the new See, I don't want to be crass. I was about to say the middle finger's the new pointer finger, but it like really is.
It would be the new index finger, yeah.
Because then they do the surgery on his hand to make it so that the middle finger would become the pointer finger.
There was grafts involved, yes.
It's a lot going on, man. There's a great deal here that's going on. So he decided that he was going to show us what he was up to on the Instagram yesterday. And he put up a video of him dragging a sled with what appeared to be 270 pounds worth of weights on it. Shannon, it was not a good look. It was not a good look.
He's trying.
Whose idea was this? Like, what are they trying to accomplish? Like, I told you, Dan and I had talked about whether or not Jason Pierre-Paul was trying to bluff his way into free agency. Absolutely not. That's not what he's trying to do. He's trying to get these checks for this franchise tag because he may never see a contract offer like that ever again, right? He may not make that much money. As much money he's supposed to make this year, he might not make that much money for the rest of his career. So he's like, I'm going to get out here and I'm going to show you that I can drag this 270-pound sled. And I don't mean to be rude, but the sled was connected to his waist, Shannon. Like it was something tied around his waist.
Right. It
wasn't tied to his hand. Right. The hand is what we have questions about, Jason. It's not about whether you can drag a bunch of weights. It's about what you can do with your hands.
Yeah, we need in some of these drills, we need to see if you can, one, catch the ball, if you can come off blocks, if you can make tackles. We need to see what you can do with the hand.
Yeah, dragging a sled. We're not falling for that one. We're not. But this is what was in that video that I think is a much bigger issue than the hand, right? The hand's covered up. The video, by the way, doesn't give you any kind of glimpse of his hand because he doesn't want anybody looking at his hand at all. There's nothing good to come from that. And to be quite honest, how long is it going to be before Jason Pierre-Paul can go have conversations with people and they don't want to make dumb conversation about his hand?
It's going to come up.
Right, so did it hurt? What you think? You know, like, that's going to be his life for a while. Like, whoa, what happened to your hand? Oh, wait, you're Jason Pierre-Paul. Like, it's going to be that sort of thing. But there was a lot less of Jason Pierre-Paul in that video that I remember from the NFL.
Right.
He's a much smaller dude. And this is what the problem is. The way I see it for him. How can you get bigger if you can't lift weights? Because he seems to be one of those guys that has to go up to get to the weight that he needs to be to play football, right? Not down. He needs to go up, and going up requires putting on a lot of muscle mass and doing a lot of working out to keep it there. So if he can't lift weights, how is he supposed to get into game shape? Which then begs the question, when is he going to be able to lift weights?
His game weight is around 278, 275, 280. He didn't look 275, 280 in that video.
He looked nobody's 275 or 280. Like, now this is really getting sad because he's fighting. But look, man, unless your hand gets right, none of this other stuff matters. Like, at first I was on his side. I was like, yeah, you can put it in a club and then you can go. But he's not big enough to play. He's just not big enough to play. Like, in 2015, you're not trotting out a 235-pound, 240-pound defensive end. Like, and I don't know how much he's weighing right now. I'm not saying he lost 40 pounds. I really don't have any idea. But that 280 seemed more like the number he needed to be at rather than wherever he is right now. Though, once again, pretty impressive that he can still drag all those weights around, given that he doesn't weigh that much anymore. Like, we're going to give him props on what there is to give him props about because he wanted us to see him in good physical shape. And, hey, he's in better shape than me. Can't take that away from him. He's in better shape than me. However, this is not going well. Tell you this, too. Here's how you know he can't play. Shannon, the Giants kind of need him.
No, there's no kinda. The Giants really need him.
I mean, he's counting against the cap regardless, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they can just go get somebody else. I mean, that is what, a $14-15 million cap hold. If they need him so bad. Like, I was wrong about this in thinking that the Giants would be wrong not putting him out there. No. If he could play, they would have him out there because God knows they're not that concerned about the money. They're willing to give it to him because they needed him to play. If they could put him in a club and put him out there, they put him in a club and put him out there.
And that's the problem. You know, if they could, they would. But if the Giants are saying they can't, that lets you know how severe the injury really is.
Dude, every night. Can you imagine every night being Jason Pierre-Paul going home and just having to think about this for a second? Like, I imagine he used to work out from time to time to get rid of the stress. Can't do that. I wonder if his, leg press game is mean, though. I mean, you ain't got no hand on your foot. You might as well get in there and do something. Unfortunate set of circumstances, man.
I mean, that's really bad. You know, the coach in the NFL, they'll do whatever they can to make the player active, to get him active, whatever it is, come back.
Yep.
If the Giants, there's nothing that the Giants can really do to feel comfortable. That says a lot. That really says a lot.
And there's nothing anyone can do. You know what I mean? Like, there is nothing that anybody involved in this can do. Like, they're all frustrated. There's nobody happy. Like, with Jason Pierre-Paul's agent called Jerry Reese, everybody mad. Everybody tense.
Right.
Everybody tight. And when's the last time either one of those sides called the other one with some good news?
July 3rd.
If then, because remember, they couldn't come to an agreement on a long-term deal. So think about that. Jason Pierre-Paul just had a contract year. He just got slapped with that franchise tag, which players never want because the franchise tag doesn't come with the long-term security. And this happens. His agent has not had a pleasant conversation with Jerry Reese since 2013. That's the last time they can talk and smile and laugh about anything. They've been salty as hell ever since. Dang, man. Be careful. Be careful with the fireworks. Is that the only lesson that we could possibly give people? Because I told you, I got sympathy for the dude. Like, he made a mistake. That's it. He made a mistake. Like, I don't want to joke on him or anything else, but we're starting from the absurd position of a 9-fingered man trying to play football. And then we find out that there's less and less finger every day. And then he's out here looking skinny, dragging weights, trying to fool us. Come on, man. I'm not trying to tell no jokes about you, but what am I supposed to do from that? That's the best case scenario when you try to trick me.
Bomani.
Our next guest, you can find his work at Bleacher Report. Check him out covering college football. He is also the the greatest student in the history of McClintock Middle School in Charlotte, North Carolina. His name is Michael Felder. Did I get your title right?
You got it right. That was pretty good. You did a great job there.
I'm just trying to give you all the shine that you deserve. Former Division I athlete, no big deal. It's that McClintock thing that drives it home.
Yeah, you really got to put the exclamation point on that one. That is single greatest student there. No one else, straight A's, plus captain of 3 varsity sports. It just doesn't happen that way.
You are a rare man, Michael Felder. Michael Felder, Bleacher Report, joining us. All right, man, what matchup are you looking at the most in college football this weekend?
Well, there's 2 that I'm looking at the most. I think, obviously, the big one, Ole Miss, Alabama, that's a game that just, to me, stands out above the rest. I think we're going to see a really good game where we're going to get to see if Alabama fixed the secondary problems that they've had over the last 2 seasons, the secondary issues that we saw cause problems against West Virginia and then again against Mississippi State and then again against Auburn and then again, obviously, ultimately sank them against Ohio State. But I'm also looking at this Auburn-LSU game, and it's not because it's going to be so good, because I wonder just how bad it's going to be.
Well, let me ask this question first about Ole Miss. Are we sure that they're good?
Listen, what else do you want them to do? And I think that's the thing. We get to see them play against Alabama, but what else can they do? All they did was go out and put up 70 against teams they're supposed to beat. We saw a lot of people play teams they're supposed to beat and not put up 70. I look at Ole Miss, and I think they're operating at full capacity right now. We'll find out against Alabama how good they are, but I'll turn the question the other way. Are we sure that Alabama can beat a team that they lost to last year when they're not as good as they were a year ago?
Well, that's a fair question. They do get them at home. And see, that's what I wonder about Ole Miss is this is still all kind of new for Ole Miss. So beating Alabama at home is one thing. Playing in front of those 90,000 in Tuscaloosa, slightly different.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I want to see how much it makes up for, but they got Jacob Coker playing quarterback, and they got a true freshman in Minka Fitzpatrick, who I loved Minka in recruiting and thought he was going to grow into a big time safety, and they're starting him now at that star, the big nickel position. So I want to see him play against Evan Ingram and Laquan Treadwell and Cody Cord, all the rest of these guys for Ole Miss. Look, this is deep water to jump in for your first real big-time game. Wisconsin can't throw the ball, and Middle Tennessee State is Middle Tennessee State. So this is his first real game. He's not easing into it. He's going up against maybe the best wide receiver in college football, plus one of the better tight ends in college football, plus an offense that's going to put you in situations where you're isolated at times. So I think Minka Fitzpatrick, but it's not just him. Marlon Humphrey, a redshirt freshman, his first big game action. Eddie Jackson has played before, but he's moving from corner to safety. So now we're looking at guys in new spots, and we're going to see they're going to get stressed by Ole Miss, and I think Ole Miss is going to push the ball down the field. They're going to have some success.
Well, let me ask you this just because you brought him up. Has anybody had wait till next year for more years than Jacob Coker while actually being in college?
Man, every year was supposed to be the year. Look, he looked very good in game one. Game two, we saw against Middle Tennessee State, we saw errant passes. We saw him waiting too long to try to deliver a perfect pass, and then ultimately when you wait that long, it's too late. So this is one of those things, and I don't know, I guess for me, I believe some of the things they tell me when they say he was really pushing Jameis, and I wonder, was Jimbo, did he not see who the guy was, or has he just been lying to us the whole time about how good Coker was in that competition against Winston?
All right, we're talking to Michael Felder of Bleacher Report. We have Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. Does Notre Dame have enough bodies to keep this going for another week?
Man, they got their hands full. They're starting a guy that was an afterthought at quarterback, and I don't say that as a knock on Kaiser, but they were so pumped up to get Brandon Wimbush in February, and then they were so excited for the Zaire versus Golson spring, and then the Zaire summer going into Zaire at camp, that everyone forgot that Deshaun Kaiser was even on the roster. So I look at him, and Bo, I actually went back and dug through my notes and looked up, and hey, the notes I pulled up from when he signed: raw, grow in the body, good arm, needs polish. And if he's demonstrated the arm, he can throw the ball. We saw that when he threw it to Fuller. This is a kid that's grown in. He's added probably 25, 30 pounds since he got to Notre Dame. So he's grown into his body. Now we just need to see the polish, his ability to command an offense. But CJ Prosise is going to need some help, the running back. Torian Folston's gone. So CJ Prosise, he cannot carry the ball 25 times a game for the next 10 games. He needs somebody else to step up, and I think that's where the issue of bodies comes into play. They need Adams, they need Carlisle, they need those guys to step up and help them out. I think Georgia Tech's going to win this football game, and the biggest thing for me is when I go back, and remember when Georgia Tech was good in 2009, and they won the ACC, and then they lost to Iowa in the Orange Bowl. You look at that, and their offensive line, I did the numbers, their starting five offensive line averaged 6'3" and a little bit, and 280 pounds. Their offensive line now is 6'4" and a little bit, but they average 312 pounds. And we're looking at a team that's put bigger bodies in the same positions, and that's the difference for me. Even if you take out the big 6'7", 366-pound kid they got playing guard, they still averaged 300 pounds on the offensive line. They only had one guy that weighed 300 in 2009. Now they got three guys on that offensive line that weigh over 300. I think Georgia Tech is playing with Power 5 bodies, but running an offense that a lot of Power 5 teams just can't stop.
Well, did he have to, Paul Johnson, did he have to change his offense to do that? Because he'd always ideally liked those little linemen because they were quicker, can get out and do all that cut blocking that he loves so much.
No, he got big guys that can do that. And I think that what he's realizing is these kids are more developed now. You don't have to, this isn't Navy. You don't have to go recruit small guys that can still fit into planes or guys that can fit onto a battleship. Now you can get guys that, guess what? They block out the sun when they stand in the doorway. And he's got a couple of guys like that, and they can still move. They still send that 366-pound kid. They still move him around. He's got some athleticism to him. So I think that the big thing for him was realizing, you know what? I need bodies that can move defensive tackles at Clemson. I need bodies that can move defensive tackles at Florida State and guys that can get someone like a Marvin Austin off the point from UNC back in the day. So he realized I need big bodies to combat the big bodies that they have. So he went out and he's got guys like that, and he's growing his own guys like that. And I think that's the difference here, and that's why I think this offense, for all the people that say it can never work, you can't win at a high level with an offense like this, I think they're wrong, because now he has players that are on par with the defensive lines that he's going to face. And you know what? If you make one mistake and they're 45 yards up the field, and now you got a problem.
All right, last question for Michael Felder of Bleacher Report. With all those things about the Notre Dame game and you thinking that Georgia Tech is going to win, is this the week that Brian Kelly's head actually explodes?
You mean, is this the week that he pulls a Jim McElwain?
Or just, I meant like literally explosion. Like I meant like his head just goes all over the field.
I feel like he's in a calmer place because he doesn't have his A-plus quarterback, so he knows he's got some leeway. But you're right. I think I think he may yell at Brian Van Gorder if he sees an option go for long and then another option go for long and then another option go for long. He may lose his mind when that happens.
I don't know if I want to scream at Brian Van Gorder. That look in his eyes, because Notre Dame, their games are all on TV, so we're going to see Brian Van Gorder, the defensive coordinator, every week, and he has the crazy eyes like nobody I can recall seeing have like a six-figure job.
Well, him, but he's also got that mustache that looks like it belongs leaning up against a muscle car. So, I mean, that's the guy that's the guy that has a cutoff sleeve shirt that he always shows up at high school, but he never actually goes into high school.
White T-shirt and a brown leather jacket. That's the guy that we're talking about right now. Michael Felder, check his workout at Bleacher Report. Great college football follow on Twitter, also at In the Bleachers. My man, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Bomani.
Now, it isn't every day that we're going to start off an hour of national radio by talking about Rutgers football. Needless to say, that means something bad happened.
Yep.
That's just kind of how it goes. It's got to be like that. I'd hate to be a fan, like a hardcore fan of one of those places where the only way we talking about you at the top of the hour is if something disastrous has gone down. And Rutgers head coach Kyle Flood has been suspended for 3 games. He has been suspended for 3 games because he had improper contact with a professor. Now, just to be clear, not that kind of improper contact, right? Not like contact. No hands, nothing like that. Just talking when he shouldn't have been talking. And basically what he did was he got in touch with a professor about a player and a grade change. Right. Which is, you're not allowed to do that. There are a range of reasons why you're not allowed to do that, but you're not allowed to do that. He did the whole thing where he tried to tell people not to talk about it. Somebody wound up talking. He wound up getting caught, and that was that. Now, the 3-game suspension, for what it is, it's appropriate. Part of why it's appropriate is the fact that coaches wield an undue level of influence. And since they wield that level of influence, you kind of have to keep them away from the professor. Like, that's what you have to do. Like, I'm looking at John Solomon of CBS, his Twitter feed. Apparently in the report, she had an academic advisor told Kyle Flood that contact with the professor was going to be, quote, a big problem.
I guess he underestimated how big of a problem this potentially could be.
Except the thing is, he was told not to do it. And then he kept on going. So he sent her an email. He wasn't supposed to do that. He met her in person. He wasn't supposed to do that. Something he didn't get in trouble for was that, so basically, he tried to get a grade change done. The professor said, okay, I'll let the player write another paper. And then Kyle Flood himself assisted with grammatical and punctuation changes on the paper that ultimately got turned in. Right? He sent the email from a personal account so that there would be no public, because, him being a state employee, anybody can get to his email.
Open Public Record Act.
Yeah, so he used his private email so as not to get into that issue. Like, he knew what he was doing. But think about something that's fascinating here. A coach just got suspended for 3 games for being academically involved with a player. Like, he's getting suspended for trying to help his player out with a grade. Okay, now the issue, of course, with the grade was that he was going to be academically ineligible, and he's trying to get a player back on the field. Don't get that twisted. But how many stories have you heard in recent times of a head coach, like, helping a player edit his paper? Really, like, stop and think about that small detail. Like, this doesn't absolve the dude of any responsibility because you're not supposed to do that. But that's kind of the stuff that's almost like idealistically looking at college football. I could go to my coach with my paper and he'll help me edit it.
Naturally, you want to think that this could be a positive story, the fact that the coach cares enough to try to get this player to get a better grade. Naturally, you want to believe that. Unfortunately, when it comes down to the player being eligible or not, then you have to assume that the coach is trying to look out for his own interests.
Oh, it's totally cynical. Like, let's be clear about this. He ain't just giving out free tutoring sessions on campus. Like, I would be curious to know if a player was trying to go from a B to an A, whether Kyle Flood would have the time to help him edit up his papers. I'd also be curious to know if Kyle Flood could write a paper that would get an A. But, I mean, I'd be very curious to know if he would still be willing to do this like he would for a player that was on the verge of ineligibility. But that's how broken this game is. Stop and think about that for a second. The college football game or the college sports game is so broken that a coach cannot talk to a professor about a grade. Like, everybody talks all that noise about how you want the coach to be like a father on campus and everything else or da-da-da. This game is so broken that a coach can't talk to a professor about the academic progress of one of his players. And the fact that it's broken is not so much that he can't, it's that he shouldn't. Like, he legitimately should not do that because the coach just wields too much influence, is too much of a position of power where once the coach goes and talks to the professor, you know what time it is.
Oh, it's getting fixed.
Yeah, it's getting fixed. Like, you can always imagine a coach, if he gets some pushback, coming back with, I'm being a gentleman about it for the moment. Because the coach has that much power.
Are we clear here? Are we clear? Okay.
Like I say,
right.
We see this eye to eye.
All right. Just making sure we're on the same page.
That's the one. Making sure we're on the same page. But that's how busted up the game is. That is exactly how busted up the game is. Think about that for a second. We are requiring the coaches be as divorced from academics as possible while you try to tell me that the players get paid with education. I don't think you can lose sight of that. And I think that speaks to a whole lot of things larger about this game and what is actually going on here. That we could find a story. Now, once again, the issue here was not that the coach helped the player edit his paper, because that wasn't a problem. That did not violate anything about academic integrity. The problem was the improper contact that the coach had with the professor, right? But imagine somebody told you a story like this about Dean Smith, right? Just throwing his name out there, the sainted Dean Smith. And that Dean Smith talked to a professor about a player's grade. And then you come and him Dean Smith up about it, and the hypothetical Dean Smith would say, I am just invested in my player's future, and I cannot believe that someone would have a problem with me taking this role with my player. And we would all say, you know what, Dean, you're right. Like, that's what we would say. We'd have that level of trust in him or whatever. Now, it wouldn't be necessarily terribly different from a situation like this. I'm just telling you that what happened here wasn't necessarily that sinister, right? The professor did feel like she was being bullied by Kyle Flood by the mere fact that he reached out to her. But that's because she knows how the game works, if nothing else. Like, I don't know what exactly the man said to her, but she knows how the game works. I'd feel guilty. I mean, I feel bullied in that same situation for that reason. But maybe we need to drop the act that academics have that much to do with this game as it goes on. Maybe we need to drop that if we are in a situation where we actually have a coach who helps edit his player's paper, and it's still a problem. Like, that's how messed up this is. And once again, I acknowledge that it's a problem. When I was a teaching assistant at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, one of our great fears was what's going to happen if we get an athlete in class. Because everybody was afraid that a coach or somebody would be coming over to us, strong-arming us into doing what needed to be done. And then we all got our classes and we realized we teach economics. They're not sending them over here. Now, again, I'm talking about UNC, and with the things that have gone on at UNC, you could come up with, hey, that's just that school. And look, I understand where you're coming from on that. But all these schools are keeping them guys away from, like, actual, like, academic pursuits as best possible. That takes away from the bottom line. It absolutely takes away from the bottom line. But if we have a game where the coach should not talk to a professor, then what the hell is a coach? 888-729-3776 is the telephone number. Right fast to go to Paul of Wisconsin. Paul, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bomani, man. I'm a little confused about this story. I need some clarification if I can. So, was this player failing and had to get this paper in to pass so they could play?
Basically, yes.
Okay, so I understand the separation of the coach not having to put the pressure on the teacher. That makes complete sense to me. But is it a rule in the NCAA where a coach cannot help edit a player's paper?
No. That part was okay. There was nothing wrong with the editing portion of it. That was deemed as not a violation of anything involving academic integrity. Now, where the issue comes up, though, is the professor allowed the player to write an extra paper in order to pass, which is something that is not being allowed of all the other students. You see what I'm saying? Like, there were problems here.
I don't mean to break off on you. I get that. That makes sense to me as well. But, I mean, I just graduated out of SIUE in Southern Illinois and moved up to Wisconsin. I've had instances where professors have extended me the courtesy of writing an extra paper. I mean, stuff happens, Bomani. I mean, you know.
Yeah,
like,
but the coach can't be the one to do it, and that's what the big deal is. The coach cannot be the one to do it. Like, that's the part where he went too far. Then I just read about it, and I was like, wow, there are actually some pretty nice parts of this when you really stop and think about it. But everybody that wants to act like the coach is super father figure, we got rules in place to prevent this sort of thing from happening. And you know why? Because the coach isn't a father figure. The coach is just a coach.
Let me ask you really quickly, how much of this Flood suspension do you think has to do with all the off-the-field problems that his program has had during the course of the summer? The several players being kicked off the team, arrested, and other things like that.
I don't think those things helped, but a suspension would just draw more attention to them when, quite honestly, most people in America had no idea those things happened. Now the coach isn't going to be there. Now America knows.
Bomani.
Interesting thing has happened here. Not sure if you guys knew this, but James Harden signed a $200 million contract with Adidas. It's $200 million, Shannon, right? Wasn't it $200 million?
$200 million, yeah, that's a lot of money.
$200 million to wear some Adidas. Apparently James Harden is not afraid of all those guys who had been wearing Adidas with these unfortunate tendencies to, get hurt.
He has a lot of confidence in his ACLs.
That never happens with Nike, by the way. Kyrie Irving gets hurt in those Nikes, nobody says a word. You get an ingrown toenail, and you happen to have some Adidas on this one time, and we're going to knock your whole brand.
Yeah.
Look, it is such a tough go for anybody that is running a shoe company that is not called Nike. It's just, I can't think of any company that just dominates the space that they're in the way that Nike does. They just absolutely dominate it. And so James Harden is, I guess he's Adidas #1 guy now, huh? Now that nobody cares about Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard's gone.
Oh, he's gone.
I think he signed with Peak, I want to say.
Who? Oh, those people with the triangle?
Yeah.
The triangle shoes?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was some Illuminati thing.
Nah, he's with them now, I believe.
All right, well, there you go. But
they have Derrick Rose.
They do have Derrick Rose, right? They got Damian Lillard. They got him.
Yeah, they got him.
And they gave him like $100 million or something absurd like that. Hey, Adidas been cutting these checks. Derrick Rose got a super duper 9-figure deal out of them. Look,
if you want to get them away from Nike, you got to overspend.
Yeah, they spending a lot of money on cats where I don't ever see anybody wearing their shoes. Like, if I put a pair of the Derrick Roses directly in front of you right now, would you know?
Nah.
Not even being funny. Like, do you know what the Damian Lillards look like? Now, granted, we're in our 30s, but still, like, I feel like I should have a general idea. I know what the Kyries look like. I know the LeBrons when I see them. I don't know any of these cat shoes. And see, that's the problem with Adidas. It appears that these dudes only want to wear their shoes when there's money on the line. That's it. That's the only time. You see, James Harden got caught the other day, Shannon. He was out in some J's.
Money's gotta be the shoes. Shoes. You sure it's not the shoes?
I'm sure, Marty.
What about the shoes?
No, Marty.
Money's gotta be the shoes.
He was in those J's.
He was in the Jordans. And that's not a good look. That's like when LeBron is on Twitter and you look down and it's like sent from Twitter for iPhone. And he does commercials for the Samsung.
Right.
It's like that's not the situation that you want to be in. So, James Harden, apparently in his contract, he can't wear Nikes ever.
Well, I would imagine that if you're going to give him $200 million, you got to have that stipulation, no?
I mean, understandably, but the only reason you have to have that stipulation is if these cats are only wearing your shoes because you paid them. Like, you think Nike has to tell cats, don't wear those Adidas out in public? Because I don't think they are. I don't think they have to tell. I don't feel like Carmelo has to be told, hey, dog, we better not catch you out here in these Under Armours. Like, I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that Adidas is worried that they're going to see James Harden out in a pair of Steph Curry 2s.
I better not catch you in those Derek Coleman BK Diamond cells. It
Right.
better not happen. Don't let me catch you.
If I see you in these LA Gear catapults, it's going to be on. Nope, nobody has to worry about that. You do not have to worry about seeing LeBron out here in no kamikazes. Like, that's just not what the concern is. It's got to be so miserable to know that you got to tell people that they can't wear the competitor shoes. Why? Because J's are J's. Period. Like, if I'm James Harden, I got to get an exemption in my deal to let me wear some Jordans.
Like, at least for my birthday or something.
Right, I can't wear Jordans ever. Like, I'm supposed to wear these Adidas when I go out? Like, I can wear Jordans to the club. I can't wear no Adidas to the club. Not no Adidas that y'all made in the last 30 years.
I will say this, James Harden will now have the cleanest Jordans in history because he can only wear them around the house.
I feel like James Harden need to have a garage sale. Like, if he wears 13, I'm going to come holler at him. He probably got some J's I ain't never seen before. He rich. Like, what's he going to do with all those shoes he can't wear anymore? Because the problem is, now that he's living that Kardashian life, this, like, actually is going to get enforced. Because somebody's always going to be around taking a picture. So then what? Good luck, James Harden. Good luck.
Let me ask you, what's one brand that you're fond of that if someone paid you enough money, you'll stop using it?
I think the better question, you might as well just ask me the same question as it relates to James Harden. How much would they have to pay me for me to stop wearing these J's? And I really don't know if there's an amount that you could point to.
Or someone said, hey, Bo, I'm willing to pay you not to wear polo.
Oh, I can rock that. That's fine. I can make that work. T-shirts. You know what I mean? Honestly, I'm at the point now where I make enough money that I kind of have to fit to your dress code, but people by and large are just letting me in, right? Like, we're at that point now. I can kind of make it and go. But these J's, I spent 30 years of my life working to be able to get these J's. And I get all the J's that I couldn't get when I was a kid because I worked so hard to get these J's. I ain't about to be out here signing and I get these J's. You remember Marcin Gortat? He's got the Jumpman
tattoo
on his cat. Yeah, but you remember he had a deal with, I think it was Reebok. And Reebok was like, look, man, we'd really appreciate it if you would cover up that Jumpman tattoo. And he was like, how about you keep your money? Like, most of those dudes wearing Nike in the league, you realize that they're not getting paid to wear Nike. They're just getting the shoes. Like, that's it. All they're getting is the shoes. Cats would rather buy their own Nikes than take money from Adidas. How do you fight that? Like, how do you overcome that?
You give a guy $200 million to wear them.
There you go. That's what it took. Maybe that's what James Harden was thinking. Look, if I ain't going to be able to wear no J's no more, man, I'm going to have to step this up by at least $50 million. And Adidas is like, whatever it takes, whatever we have to do, because we have to pay people to wear our shoes.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
Bomani.
You can catch him in the afternoons on 610 Sports in Kansas City. Want to talk to him about the Thursday night football game. His name is Danny Parkins. Danny, what's going on?
Not much, Bo. Thanks for having me on, man.
Oh, no, thanks for coming on. And you guys still riding high off of spanking the Texans on Sunday?
You cannot believe how high people are riding right here, man. Like, they are so excited, and it's actually perfect that they play the Broncos in week 2 because just when everyone got done watching the Chiefs look dominant in the first half, especially over the Texans, they tuned in and settled in for that Ravens-Broncos game.
and the Broncos looked imminently beatable, and now they're coming into Arrowhead. So Chiefs fans, the city is all about the Royals right now, but all of a sudden stocks are way up on the Chiefs.
Well, one thing also I think that's worth explaining and talking about that excitement about playing the Broncos is the rivalries really mean something in the AFC West. Like, you guys care a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Chiefs-Chargers is the one that people care about the least, and it still is a huge game that often finds its way on the national TV. But, I mean, Raider Week is a thing, and you could talk to any Chiefs player about how Marty Schottenheimer would literally get so pumped up before they would play the Raiders that he would start crying in the locker room. But the Raiders have been so irrelevant for so long, and now that John Elway, who is probably the most hated athlete among Kansas Cityans still to this day, is running the Broncos, and Peyton Manning's their quarterback, who beat them in the playoffs a couple of times with the Colts, is their quarterback, and they haven't beaten the Broncos since Peyton Manning's been in Denver. He's 6-0 against them. Like, it's Chiefs-Broncos. That's the big game, and yes, rivalries absolutely matter in this division.
All right, we're talking to Danny Parkins of 610 Sports in Kansas City, and if I'm the Broncos or I'm associated with them, I have to be a little bit worried about the fact that Kansas City is bringing a whole lot of heat, and Denver couldn't do much to stop it last week. That defense is fierce, am I right?
It's very fierce. I mean, probably the best pass rush combination in the NFL last year with Tamba Hali and Justin Houston, who made a good run at the sack record, and they bring both of them back. And Dontari Poe is apparently not a human being. He's 330 pounds. He ran a sub-5 40-yard dash at the combine. He had herniated disc surgery within the last 2 months, missed all of training camp, and played week 1 against the Texans and played well after having just one practice before the game. The defense is legit. They got a chance to be top 5. And I don't think people fully understand, or at least they didn't until they saw that Broncos-Ravens game, how bad Peyton Manning's offensive line is. It's crazy. He's got a 6th-round rookie center, a 2nd-round rookie left tackle, Evan Mathis, who's really good but also really old, and he's had him on the team for exactly a month, and Ryan Harris is his right tackle, who was on the Chiefs' offensive line last year, and they had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Like, Peyton Manning, it was like surreal to watch him get hit as much as he did last week, and that was at home when he had that place silent like he always does. Arrowhead will not be silent tomorrow night, and I think that's probably the biggest reason all of a sudden people think the Chiefs are going to win this game.
All right, we're talking to Danny Parkins of 610 Sports in Kansas City, and you mentioned offensive line for the Broncos. The offensive line for the Chiefs has been in the news because of Eric Fisher and what happened with him not playing on Sunday. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is absolutely a thing. I mean, I don't have any other way to say this because it's not so. I'm a size 33 waist, Bo. Like, I don't know much about offensive line play, but I know the offensive linemen on this team, and I know people around the team. And it's been a thing with Eric Fisher since he came into the league that people thought, coming from Central Michigan, going to the pros, he didn't really know the difference between hurt and injured. And if I can get people on the team to say that that's a question, and I'm talking about before this incident, we've been talking about that on my show since last year, and then this comes out, there are dozens of players every week in the NFL that are listed as questionable, and they're either active or inactive. But 2 different media reports, the Star and the Houston Chronicle, both said that Eric Fisher opted out of that game, and the Star reported that the Chiefs were none too happy about it. Like, I firmly believe that Eric Fisher asked out of the game, and he practiced Friday. And you know that's late in the week. If you're going to practice Friday, you're playing in that game Sunday. And he was listed as questionable. And normally if you're listed as questionable, that means you're playing in the NFL. So, yeah, it's absolutely a thing because something named Ja Reed, had to come, and he had only been on the team for a week, and he was all of a sudden guarding J.J. Watt, blocking J.J. Watt, and he did an admirable job. Like, it's crazy how far the stock of the 1-1 first-round, first overall pick Eric Fisher has fallen in just since 2013.
Well, he's the most anonymous number 1 pick of all time. Like, I think if you ask people on the street who was the number 1 pick in 2013, they draw a blank.
No question. And John Dorsey, the general manager, gets a little bit of a pass because if you go back and look at that 2013 draft, it's going to go down as one of the worst in the last couple of decades. I mean, it was between him and Luke Joeckel and Lane Johnson and Deion Jordan. Lane Johnson's turned out to be a pretty good player. Luke Joeckel was probably the safer pick given the school that he came from, and he won the awards in college for being the best offensive lineman, but he's been a bust down in Jacksonville. And Deion Jordan's already switched positions, and he's been a problem for the Dolphins. So it was a terrible draft, but I mean, he's a right tackle right now who is backing up Ja Reed. So, yeah, he's got bust written all over him.
Now, I'm looking at that draft right now, and the first player that comes up that you could definitely say is a good player in that draft was Sheldon Richardson, who might have been a little bit dangerous for you to draft. Just a guess.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you would have loved to have him until all of a sudden, he was driving to the practice facility or something. So, Tavon Austin, they reportedly really liked him, but I don't think anyone's drafting a guy his size that high up. They said that they probably would have picked him if they had, the 8th pick, the 10th pick, the 12th pick, something like that. But it was a terrible draft. Some years you get LeBron James, some years you get Andrew Bogut.
All right, we're talking to Danny Parkins of 610 Sports in Kansas City. Hey, man, you guys, are we cool now on this Alex Smith thing? Because people always still get mad at me about Alex Smith. All I ever said was that you're not going to win but so much with Alex Smith because he can't get the ball down the field. Last year he didn't complete a touchdown pass to a wide receiver, but he looked really good in the first week of the season, but it was still an Alex Smith type of really good.
It was. I think we're going to get a wide receiver touchdown this year, Bo. I'm going on the line right now on the record. We're going to get at least one. I mean, when you give Jeremy Maclin $55 million, you should. Listen, you and I are cool about Alex Smith. I always agreed with you, still agree with you. I thought your line about him being a weak-armed Chad Pennington was phenomenal. He's smart. He's mobile. He does exactly what Andy Reid wants him to do. He loves throwing to running backs. They got Jamal Charles. That's a good idea. He loves throwing to tight ends. They got Travis Kelce. That's a good idea. The problem is you'd rather have your defense on the field up for protecting the lead than your quarterback on the field down for making a charge. If he needs to make plays down the field, everyone knows this by now with Alex Smith, he can't do it, and he's so risk-averse. I think the Chiefs secretly are hoping that he has a career high in interceptions this year, or at least not a career high, but more than the 7 that he had last year. So that means he's actually taken some chances. So Chiefs fans love him because he's better than Steve Bono and Tyler Thigpen and Brody Croyle and all of that stuff. So Chiefs fans, generally speaking, like Alex Smith, and they still hate you for pointing out the truths about him.
Well, last question for you on those Chiefs, talking to Danny Parkins of 610 Sports in Kansas City. Jeremy Maclin's first game, he played, he got his catches, but the catches did not go very far down the field. Was that a function of the game plan, or was that a function of a quarterback that just can't get the ball down the field?
I think we've all been misevaluating Jeremy Maclin, and I was guilty of it too. I was like, yes, they're finally going to take shots deep. And then in the preseason, lots of bubble screens. They even lined up Jeremy Maclin as a running back and Jamal Charles in the slot and got him the ball that way and got him matched up on a linebacker. Alex Smith is not good throwing the ball down the field. But also, we were talking about the Broncos offensive line, and we talked about Eric Fisher. I mean, the Chiefs offensive line starts a rookie center. They start Donald Stevenson, who was 1 pick in front of Russell Wilson from the previous regime, who was basically in the doghouse all of last year at left tackle. And they start a guy that the team calls Larry the Canadian Doctor because no one can pronounce his name because he's going to medical school still from McGill up in Canada. He's French-Canadian, not exactly a football factory. And they were playing J.J. Watt, Vince Wilfork, and the Texans. Alex Smith doesn't have any time to throw deep, even if he was able to. So I think they're going to get Maclin the ball, but it's not going to be on deep posts. It's going to be on bubble screens and flares. And you know what? Alex Smith can make those passes. He really can.
All right, Danny Parkins, 610 Sports in the afternoons. Check him out, my man. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Bo.
Bomani.
As some of you guys know, I don't wear hair on my head. I mean, I can grow hair, just not in the ways that I was able to do so when I was a younger man. And being the perfectionist that I am, I just kind of had to go ahead and come on home. I had to come back to where I'd started, in a manner of speaking. Shannon, why you over there stroking those waves?
Just making sure they were still there.
Yeah, they still there. I tell you this, though. I see a lot more of your forehead than I did when I met you. What you got to say about that now?
You have to bring that up.
I'm just saying. I'm over there looking at it right now. Like, it's an interesting little taper situation you got going. You got a very good barber. That's right. You cats always got something to say till I point out to you that you're going to be right where I am pretty soon. Dan like to laugh when I'm on TV. He got that moon roof. You just can't see it on camera, but you look at Dan from the back, it's a whole different scenario. All y'all cats, y'all going to feel this pain at some point. Just about every single one of y'all going to feel this pain. Don't go out here and get no hair plugs or nothing else, Shannon, when your time comes, neither. I know that, was it, or the Beijing? None of that.
Hair plugs can't do what's up there right now. When it's time to go, I'll let it go, or at least I'll start joking people like Peyton Manning does with reporters.
Shannon, look, you a Kappa. You're going to be spray painted. You're going to have the super duper crisp line. The super duper crisp line. Like, I ain't calling no names because ain't just any old. Nah, I'm not going to say that. Let's just say I know a place where you could work if you got a Beijing line. A place that got a whole bunch of people like that. I'll just say it. If you got a Beijing line, you might be able to analyze the NFL for us.
Right.
We keep a Beijing in business over here. We're the worldwide leader in Beijing. That's just what it is. We are the worldwide leader in Beijing. Anyway, poor Jordan Spieth, he doesn't have the option of the Beijing. He doesn't have that. And it's been called out very early. He's such a young man, 22 years old, and his hairline is precocious as his game, bruh. His hairline's as far ahead of things. Well, not really ahead. It's a little bit more behind, but you understand what it is that I'm saying. And so Larry David, he of Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm fame, he did a Q&A with Golf Digest, and here's what he said about Jordan Spieth, and I quote, "He's going to be a bald man. He's going to be wildly bald. This makes him way more appealing to me. It's one thing to handle the pressure of the back nine at Augusta. Let's see how he does when he sees all that hair in the tub. That's pressure. I'll be watching him very carefully. He's 22. He's got 3 years, maybe 4. He's done." Yikes.
But this is coming from a bald man himself, right? I mean, Larry
yes, it is coming from a bald man
in the world, right?
Yeah, and the worst part of this is he's absolutely correct, right? Like, I hope Jordan Spieth has made peace with this fact. Because, all right, I mean, it's not hard to tell if you're going to go bald. If your mother's father is bald, you're going to go bald. That's just how it works. My aunt died a couple of years ago, and I went to the funeral, and it was me, it was my brother, and my aunt had 3 sons. So it's, we're the 5 boy children that are there at this funeral because it's just my mom and my aunt.
Right.
4 of us are bald headed, and the other one had a head full of that Beijing.
He was still fighting the fight. He was still fighting a good fight.
Right. Like, if you did not know that this traveled on the X chromosome, we were a walking, just like a crew of how to tell if you're going to go bald. Like, there we all were right there. All our hair gone, right? Because this is just what it is. My granddaddy, he was one of those cats that was bald when he was like 23, 24 years old. He was the Justin Spieth of his neighborhood. His hair was just long gone. I just want to know what Jordan Spieth's plan is. Because he's going to need a plan.
He's going to wear lots of hats.
Yeah, he's going to wear hats, but then he's going to take them off. And then he's going to be out there with that cul-de-sac. Now, I'm going to do something right fast that may offend some of y'all in the beginning, but I think you'll come around to where I want you to go in the end on this, right? Shannon, you're familiar with the notion of white privilege, right?
I've heard it a couple times.
A lot of people don't like to talk about the idea of white privilege, but the important part for this discussion is privilege, right? Because generally, I make the argument that not a lot of, real pluses that you get out of being black, right? Like, by and large, there are no bonus points you really get on that. People assume you can dance better than you can actually dance. And in pickup games with random people, you'll probably get picked 2, maybe 3 spots higher than you should. Like, those are the things that you get, but those don't really, serve you any good, right? They don't really do much for you. But I'll tell you one place that there's black privilege. It's the privilege to shave your head. That's a whole different ball game. Yo, black dude starts going bald, shave your head. Now, we also kind of have to because the close crop hairstyles make it a bigger issue when your hairline starts going a little wonky on you. You can't, comb it over the top or anything or swoop it over anything like that. You don't really have those options unless you got a conch. And you don't really want to be that. And then you don't want to be the guy that has the dreadlocks and then your hairline starts going away because then you start looking like the Predator. There's not the options. But you can shave your head. And it by and large works every time. It doesn't work the same way when white dudes shave their heads. It doesn't give off that same look of cool in the eyes of most people. It leads to the assumption that best case scenario, you are some variety of movie villain.
Man.
No, I mean, it's just kind of what it is, right? I mean, it does not, the bald-headed black dude is very easily seen as being cool. There's something suave that's seen about that, right? It doesn't seem to work the other way from what I can tell. So what do you do if you're Jordan Spieth? right? Does he just, and the other reason why he can't shave his head, Shannon, because he plays all that golf with that hat on. He'd be out there looking like somebody turned a light bulb on if he tried to do that. So, it seems like basically the only option that the young man has is that cul-de-sac. Except if he has the cul-de-sac, it'll still look like a light bulb, just with hair on the side of it.
He's just gonna have to ride this thing out, and when it goes, it goes.
Yeah, but you got to come home. That's my thinking, is that at some point you got to come home.
He's too young. He's not ready.
I know he's not ready. And see, that's the part that I feel bad for him on, because I've been in that place, right, where it's time for you to come home, but you just not ready, right? I came home when I moved to Miami because I didn't want to find a new barbershop, because I did not want to be the dude on TV in the barbershop, because then people want to talk to me about sports all the time. And then you have to be nice to them, And in order for me to get a quality barbershop in Miami, that would probably require me go to a neighborhood where I think my manners need to be on point.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, let's just say that there is no barbershop on Miami Beach that is really geared toward what I need. It's not really going down here. Not a lot of CD, DVD barbershops on Miami Beach. You can't go get all the things you need at the barbershop.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, I ain't seen those. Maybe they here, but I haven't come across. People always hit me up before they come to Miami like, hey, you know where a barbershop is? I can go, why would I know where a barbershop is for you? I know where a barbershop is. This Sink. That's the barbershop I go to. I go to the Sink. How about that? Just got some brand new clippers from Walgreens the other day. That's where I would wind up being. But this is going to be a thing for Jordan Spieth, too, because now he is what I didn't want to be. He's the guy that's known for having the jacked up hairline. People were on the internet joking about messed up hairlines with my name in it just a little bit too much. As soon as I came home, I stopped being that guy. They had to find somebody new to clown. I'm so jealous of Michael Smith. Michael Smith hairline down to his eyebrows. Come on, man. I work hard. I feel like I deserve better than that. I feel like I deserve much better than that. Shannon, you deserve Michael Smith's hairline.
Everybody deserves Michael Smith's hairline.
Yep, your hairline running away from you like it owes you money.